What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Fourth Down Show. I am your host, Kicking It with Keith, and this is the AFC Index Show, and we're doing a double dose today. We're doing the Denver Broncos, and we're doing the Super Bowl champion Chiefs. Now, I know I've been away, guys. It's been a few days. I apologize. I had to handle some issues. As you can see, I got my glasses on. I had pink eye. I was doing some dentist stuff. It's been a very unique few days. I had to take a few days off, and listen, nonetheless, we are here. And to make up for lost time, moving forward, guys, all index shows are going to have all the teams involved. Reason why is because we're 3 weeks away, and there's not a lot of time to get through this for you guys. I want to get to a point where we can have a fourth down weekly shows and fourth down recap shows, and we have to get to it. And we're going to run through these index shows just to give you guys a clear heads up of what we're jumping into for the 2020-21 season for all NFL teams. So like I said, today is a double dose. Broncos, Chiefs, and let's do it. All right, guys, listen. Let's do it. Double dose. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to figure it out. All right, guys, let's start with the Broncos, who improved to a 7-9 record from their 6-10 record prior, with Vic Fangio at the helm as head coach. And we saw Drew Lock get into the fold late in the season. I liked them. I thought it was pretty dope. They started out, I believe, 0-4, if I'm not mistaken, with the Joe Flacco situation. And the Broncos, if you look at what happened the beginning of last season to now, you got to be excited to be a Bronco fan. I mean, truth be told, it was kind of like middle tier, a little 5-11-ish for a few years now since the Super Bowl run that they had, but here we are with a lot of optimism and a pretty young team. And there's been a huge rehaul of this team, and we're going to jump into that in a few moments. But Drew Lock is pretty much the main story here, and we're going to touch on him in a few moments. And as I touch on the Broncos, let's jump real quick to the Chiefs, and there's not much to say, but damn. That might be the most impressive performance from a team in terms of the beginning of the year all the way up to the Super Bowl, where you can say, Andy Reid, he lost Pat Mahomes for 2.5 weeks. We all thought he tore his knee off. Andy Reid, I believe with Matt Moore at the helm, you can't say enough about Andy Reid, man. This was long overdue. Andy Reid deserves this ring. And before I even get to Mahomes, this team is constructed perfect to give your quarterback a chance to win. Now, this is taking nothing away from Pat Mahomes, but everyone out there, if you root for a team and you want your team to enhance on its strength, look at what Andy Reid has built and GM Veach. These guys have put in place a project for their main player to thrive in. This is how you succeed in the NFL. And we all know he got paid the big bucks, and he deserved it. $500 million deal, well deserved. He is, to me, besides LeBron James right now, the best athlete in the world, and that's Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is simply breathtaking. There's nothing you can say about Patrick Mahomes that is a deterrent on anything he's done. He's a hell of a teammate. He's a hell of a leader. In the biggest moments, he'll make a play. I remember last year against Detroit, he made a scramble just to get in field goal range, I believe, or in range for them to win the game. I believe that was the case. But what else can you say, man? He was down in every playoff game that they had last postseason. And not only was he down, the Texans had them dead to rights, 24-0. I believe they scored, what was it, like 42 unanswered points? I could be wrong. I need somebody to jump in the comments with that one. But you know what? The Chiefs have a hell of a fan base. The Chiefs have a hell of a home field advantage, and it sucks that we're not going to see that this year when they get their rings. I'm aware that there will be allocating a few fans into the stadium this year, but if you look at both of these teams, you see so much that unfortunately this virus has taken away from these guys, and it really hurts. You got a lot of Denver Bronco fans who are so optimistic heading into this season, and you have the ring ceremony with the champs. So it sucks. There's so much optimism around Bronco fans. There's so much to celebrate with Chief fans. the AFC West is the best division in football. These two teams are a big reason why. Now, I don't know what we're gonna get with the Broncos in terms of record, and we're gonna jump into the records eventually down the road with the Fourth Down Show on our record show. We're gonna predict all the teams' records. We're gonna try and do our best to see if we're any smart. We'll try, but with the Chiefs, we know they're gonna be good. You know, even barring any type of injury, we know that they can just get by with the head coach, with the quarterback. You know, they have really good players on defense. Not as a whole, but they have key players and that can hold it together. I don't think they'll have a Super Bowl hangover personally. And I think the Denver Broncos, the stock is pointing up for them. So let's just jump into some key departures for the Chiefs. To be quite honest with you, there aren't any. Except for Damian Williams, who opted out due to the virus. Damian Williams is a big piece of that offense. I say he fits this team. He does what Andy Reid requires from his running backs. He was huge in that Super Bowl. Some may say he should have won MVP. That's a very big debate that still goes on to this day. But, I mean, you're going to give it to the quarterback at the end of the day, right? So, Damian Williams won't be suiting up this year for the Chiefs. Won't be a big problem because when we touch on who they drafted, you'll see why. And any big departures for the Broncos, I'm going to be quite honest with you. I only can think of one, and that's Chris Harris Jr. Chris Harris Jr. has been a cornerback for this team for quite some time. I think calling him a key departure is fair because he's a hell of a football player. He's at a point where he probably has a few years left of elite play. So yeah, it is a key departure, but I can see why they moved on from him because they're trying to get young. They're trying to revamp this whole defense. They're trying to still keep Von Miller in his prime in terms of like his production. We all know Von is getting up there in age, but Von is still Von. But to be quite honest with you, you know, with Bradley Chubb opposite of Von, that just makes Von's job a lot easier. It makes his legs a lot younger. We saw that for some time when Bradley Chubb was healthy. So, you know, as Chris Harris goes, you'll gain as we jump into the additions. But Chris Harris was a great Denver Bronco. I would say the departure hurts more in terms of, I'd say the locker room. I'd say the fans really loved him. You know, he was a true Bronco, and there were some years Chris Harris Jr. was breathtaking to play corner. He was such a dog. He didn't care. He'd line up with whoever he needed to line up with, and I respect that from a cornerback. So yeah, that's a key departure. Looking at the additions, even though he was a key departure, they replaced him with a trade for AJ Bouye, and AJ Bouye was a pretty respectable corner. I feel like last year was his first really down year in Jacksonville, but Jacksonville had a pretty down year in general last year, and I think AJ Bouye can still give you quality production. He thrived across really good cornerback play with Jalen Ramsey. I thought some years he was quite equal with Jalen Ramsey, but you know Jalen Ramsey has a higher potential in terms of what he can do on a football field and what he can take away and what he can provide if his head is screwed on right. But AJ Bouye is really a solid corner. And he may not be able to go inside like Chris Harris can, you know, in terms of covering the slot, but he's still a really good corner. And I think Denver Bronco fans, you know, they did a really good job in terms of like making sure the secondary isn't completely like missing a piece, and, you know, holding it together. They have a really good safety. We'll touch on that, you know, when we get into the depth chart. But AJ Bouye is a really good acquisition for this team, and they also lost Melvin Gordon. Excuse me, they also added Melvin Gordon. I apologize. Now you're looking at a running back by committee, I feel, with Melvin Gordon and Philip Lindsay. I actually like Philip Lindsay quite a little bit more in terms of the better fit for the team. But, you know, I don't think Philip Lindsay's a 250 carry kind of guy. I think Philip Lindsay can't even touch it for that much in terms of like the workload because you want to keep him fresh. He's a really he's a spark plug on that offense. He can break away and have a big time play at any given time. And with Melvin Gordon kind of like being used in terms of getting the tough yards, I think that'll just enhance Philip Lindsay into this offense. So I worry about Melvin Gordon's fumbling. He has a very big fumbling issue. But if he's healthy and he's not letting go of the rock, listen, there were times where a few years back, Melvin Gordon was like looking at like a top 10 running back, maybe even top 5. If we get that Melvin Gordon in this team, I don't know. Plus, he has a little bit of an injury history, so it looks like a great idea to have that running back by committee on the Denver Broncos. Let's jump into some of the key additions for the Chiefs. We got nothing really to jump out. You see, DeAndre Washington. They added him quickly once they lost Damian Williams. Guard Kelechi Osemele. If you know, his time with the Jets ended terribly. They needed a guard, so they did a really good job in terms of like just getting a reliable guard. And Mike Remmers, he's also another offensive lineman. Listen, just making sure that Pat Mahomes has enough protection, just to make it through the season, because we all know he did have an injury last year and we don't want to see him injured again. Let's jump into the draft picks for the Chiefs, and we'll jump into the draft picks for the Broncos. But two key players I actually want to note on for the Chiefs. One you may not heard of a lot, and one you may have been, hearing his name quite a bit, especially with the fantasy drafts going on, is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Now, for everyone who knows me, when the draft was going on, I was a big Clyde Edwards-Helaire fan. I thought he was my favorite player in LSU last year, along with Patrick Queen. This is maybe LaShawn McCoy under Andy Reid, but with a little bit more grit. Like he'll knock you out. And I love this pick because they weren't expecting Damian Williams to be out when they drafted him. You were expecting Damian Williams and Clyde Edwards-Helaire to go at this together. Now it's his show. We have DeAndre Washington spelling him for a bit. We don't know if he's going to get about 200 to 250 carries, but I think he's going to touch the ball 200 times. And this kid has fresh legs. He is electric. He loves to catch the football. And we know in Andy Reid's system, you need receiving running backs. And, Pat Mahomes does so many things to enhance players around him that this rookie's in the best position I think I've ever seen a rookie in, personally. This may be Saquon Barkley 2.0 in terms of the opportunities. I'm not calling him Saquon, but in terms of Saquon's rookie year, you may see a very similar productive year in terms of the catches and the yards after catch with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, especially with Andy Reid, as the head coach. You still have Tyreek Hill, you still have Travis Kelce. This is a dream for a running back. Now, everybody in the draft boards has them going like literally top 5. Like they're seriously overdrafting because they see the potential. But please, let's not forget that this is a rookie. There's going to be growing pains. So, as I said, I think this is an enormous opportunity for Clyde, but there may be some growing pains. So let's take it easy. Andy Reid's system isn't the most complex, but he's still a rookie. So let's not get ahead of ourselves, but I mean, I say that and I just said he's going to have like a Saquon Barkley-ish rookie year, contradicting my ass. But pretty much I have a high optimism for the player, and I loved them in college. And running backs are really easy to scout in college. You can tell how they'll be able to withstand NFL defenses based off how they break tackles, how they don't come out of the game in college. I never saw this kid come out of the game, and this is LSU. They have athletes and freaks all over the field. And I remember a few years back, maybe 1 or 2 years ago, I think they had Leonard Fournette's brother. And I was just like, oh, that's a wrap. He's getting all the cap. And this kid kept him on the sideline. I don't know if he was older than him, had more years in school than him. I really don't know because obviously he's more experienced than him. But I just assumed Leonard Fournette, LSU, his younger brother, oh my God, the booster's probably going to want him to play, blah, 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 blah. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was the star. Truly the star. Along with a lot of other stars on that team. That team was phenomenal. Shout out to Heave. I know he's a big LSU fan. If you watching, this for you. But let's jump into the second pick for the Chiefs. And this is another player that I want to touch on that a lot of people don't know about, and that's Willie Gay Jr., linebacker out of Mississippi State. Now, Willie Gay can be that will linebacker. I think he can cover in space. He can also get after the passer. He's a really good complex linebacker where he can play in space. He can make plays in the run game, and he's pretty freaky. He has a long wingspan. I don't know if he had any red flags coming out of school, but he was highly respected in terms of production. I don't know if he was injured or had red flags. I'm not sure. But the reports are is that the Chiefs got a steal in this pick. This may be their most like stunning pick in terms of their whole draft, even with the way I, you know, exuberantly like expressed how happy I am to see Clyde Edwards-Helaire with the Chiefs. They're saying Willie Gay can be like a very big impact player on this defense. You got Chris Jones, Tyrann Mathieu, Frank Clark, and Willie Gay can turn into something special, and especially with the linebackers that you're not, when we jump into the depth chart, you're not screaming about, you're not jumping up and down about. So with that being said, I would keep an eye on this kid. You never know. I think he may have to learn a little bit with Spagnuolo's system. I see a lot of like Matthias Kiwanuka, like something along those lines. Very productive. Not saying he's gonna turn into a Pro Bowl player, but the rich get richer. You're adding talent to a very talent-rich team. So look out for Willie Gay Jr. out of Mississippi State. Moving through the rest of this draft, Lucas Niang, offensive tackle, TCU. Jarius Sneed, safety, Louisiana Tech. Mike Donna, defensive end, Michigan. And finishing up with Thacarius Keys. That might be the greatest name I've ever heard coming out of the draft. Thacarius Keys, cornerback out of Tulane. Thacarius Keys. Interesting. All right. Now, this is a really good draft we're about to jump in. Broncos fans, listen up. You guys killed it. A+ draft. Hands down. This is like if I'm playing Madden and I want to like do my own draft because I'm manipulating the draft class and I see all these like weapons I want to, put on my team. The Broncos did exactly what any Madden player would do. First of all, they drafted the receiver I wanted. As you know, I'm a Jeff fan. I wanted Jerry Jeudy. I know CeeDee Lamb is CeeDee Lamb, but I wanted Jerry Jeudy. I just felt like he would fit better with Sam Darnold. Well, now Jerry Jeudy and Drew Lock are about to be a beautiful marriage made in heaven. Jerry Jeudy is a hell of a route runner. He reminds me so much of Stephon Diggs. He has it's a good combo of Stephon Diggs with Amari Cooper. Jerry Jeudy is just fantastic. One thing about Jerry Jeudy that's a little bit of a knock, 50-50 balls, I guess because of his size. But that's not really his game. He's really run after the catch. He has like a lot of like wiggle in him. His route tree is stupid. It's just fucking dumb. This kid, man, it's actually probably going to be hard to get him the ball because he's going to be so open so quick. I actually would throw him in the slot. I play around and put him in the slot and just destroy like nickels. Jerry Jeudy's gonna kill it for the Broncos, man. That's a great pickup. And then they double up. Now, when you double up, I've always said, why don't teams double up? Like that's just raping the draft. They doubled up with KJ Hamler. I told a real close friend of mine, I was like, man, I think this KJ Hamler kid is pretty good. I saw him a few times at Penn. Another stud wide receiver, stupid fast, man. And they have Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, and you got Cortland Sutton over there. What? Come on, bro. That is just Bronco fans, man. That's nice. It's really nice. This kid can move. This is a speed demon. Double moves all day, baby. Double moves all day. And Penn State knows how to put kids in the NFL. So that's a great pickup. Next pick, Michael Olumudia. I'm definitely botching that name. We're really killing it with these names this year. Cornerback out of Iowa. Usually a lot of cornerbacks out of Iowa kind of transition to like safety or nickel. That's a pretty good pickup. After which we get Lloyd Cushenberry out of LSU center. That's actually a really good pickup. I kind of like them. He actually may start when we jump into the depth charts. We'll touch on him a little bit. Following up with that, McKelvin Algium, DT, Arkansas. I really can't pronounce this, and get ready for this one. Albert Akuwenjubuam, tight end, Missouri. Yo, yeah, y'all must be asking if I can read at this point because this is terrible. Justin Strand, linebacker, Wake Forest, and Natane Multi, guard, Fresno State. Tyree Cleveland, wide receiver, Florida. I could get that one right because I'm a Gator fan. I love Tyree Cleveland. He's a really good speed demon. Another one. Hopefully he makes his roster, but that's another beast. And then we're following up with, and actually finishing up with Derek Tuska I hope I'm saying that right too. Defensive end out of North Dakota State. All right, as you guys make fun of my pronunciations, this is a hell of a draft. This is a sick draft. This is exactly what you want with a team like the Broncos. Young, up and coming. You got a defensive coach. He's gonna let this offense thrive. He's gonna do his thing. Oh man, jealous. Big time jealous vibes over here, man. Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler. Come on. Then you got Noah Fant. You got Quinn. So we're gonna jump on that in a bit. All right. Listen, we're gonna jump into the depth chart for the Kansas City Chiefs. And here we go. Wide receiver Sammy Watkins. Opposite of Sammy, we got the speed demon Tyreek Hill. We got the all-pro stud tight end Travis Kelce. Monitoring the middle of the field. We also have Mecole Hardman, his second year, and I think Mecole Hardman is in prime position to break out this year. Look out for Mecole Hardman. As you can see, rookie Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the backfield. And let's touch up on the offensive line before we finish up with the NFL Super Bowl MVP and former league MVP. You got All-Pro Fisher on the left tackle. Opposite of Fisher, you got another All-Pro and Schwartz. Those two tackles, that's probably the best tackle combo in the NFL. At right guard, you have Wiley. At left guard, you got who I mentioned earlier, Osemele. And at center, you have Ryder. That's a really good offensive line due to those tackles. Those tackles are the best combination in the NFL. And we finish up with, to me, the best player in the NFL, Patrick Mahomes. There's not a lot to say about Patrick Mahomes. He is quite a specimen. God bless that kid, and I hope he's here to, just to destroy every record there is. How could you not like this kid? Truly special kid. Let's jump into the defense for the Kansas City Chiefs. As you can see, I just want to mention real quick, this team won a Super Bowl. Just keep that in mind. All right, as you can see right there, the star player on the defense, Chris Jones. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful interior defensive lineman. He's a great player with shedding tackles. He creates pressure. A few years ago, he had a lot of sacks. Last year, he had a big injury. They did thrive without him, but as I mentioned with a few fans before, they need him. They need him, plain and simple. They need him, and he got paid big too. You know, Pat Mahomes wasn't the only guy who got paid big. Also, not to mention Travis Kelce, another big deal. But along with Chris Jones, you have Frank Clark at the end. In the inside, you have Nandi. Opposite of Nandi, you have Okafor. Not opposite, on the other end. Pardon. Just to touch up on Frank Clark. Frank Clark is maybe their most clutch player. And that includes Patrick Mahomes. Frank Clark had every clutch play in the playoff series between the Titans, between the Texans, and even against the 49ers. So Frank Clark is a key player on this defensive line. Into the linebacking core, you have Wilson, Hitchens, and rookie Gay. He definitely will be starting for this team. Look out for his production, and we'll see how he, performs in Spagnuolo's system. At the corner position, we have Breeland, who is going to be suspended for 4 games. I believe he's appealed that decision. We're not sure if it's going to get shrunken down to 3, 2, or 1 games, but right now he will be suspended for 4 games. We will see how they will roll out in the secondary. You could also see Tyrann Mathieu into the nickel. He's up there at the safety position. The other safety position, Juan Thornhill, in his second year. He is a tackling machine. And at the other cornerback position, Tre'Davious Ward, who is pretty good. A lot of people don't know about Ward. He has a hell of a pass completion against him. He doesn't allow a lot of passes on him. To be completed for that matter. He's a really good corner, and I actually look forward to seeing him develop. Moving on to the Denver Broncos offense. Now, as I mentioned, this is a really good offense. This is like a Madden dream, but let's keep in mind this is a young team, and there is a problem with this team. I know I sound like I'm in love with the Broncos. This offensive line is a little shaky. So let's touch on it. Garrett Bowles, a lot of holding calls. Guy cannot cover a double move. A dipping shoulder is a big concern for this team. He was a first-round pick a few years back, and he has to figure it out sooner rather than later because you have a young quarterback, and you need your left tackle to be a stud when you have a young quarterback. At the left guard position, Dalton Risner, who was actually a little bit of a bright spot. He's had his up and downs, but I kind of like him. Rookie Cushenberry at the center position. At the right guard, Glasnow, and the right tackle, Wilkinson. I totally forgot to mention Juwan James, huge holdout, COVID-19. Apologies, guys. I know I'm human. I'm sorry. A little rusty here. Juwan James, starting right tackle for the Denver Broncos, opted out to COVID-19. Totally forgot, guys. As you can see, the replacement, Mr. Wilkinson, will be into right tackle position. So I knew something was up when I said this offensive line, something's wrong. And that's what came to mind immediately. I knew something was up and I was forgetting something. So apologies there. No Juwan James at the right tackle position. So you have two shaky tackles. That is a problem. That is a problem with a team with a lot of offensive perimeter weapons. So we'll see how this works out. I don't even know if they're gonna have a lot of blocking in terms of creating holes for the running backs. So these running backs like to make moves on their own, especially Phillip Lindsay. Phillip Lindsay in space is a phenomenal running back. Love him a lot. This is a really good change of pace guy. I still think he'll start. I know they signed Melvin Gordon, but I feel like they know who Phillip Lindsay is, and I feel like Melvin Gordon's going to have to do a lot to win that starting job. I feel like he'll get a lot of the short yardage work, but also, once again, Phillip Lindsay has been there for some time, and he's been productive. So I don't see really why you wouldn't keep Phillip Lindsay as the more impactful running back on this team. As you can see, wide receiver Jerry Jeudy, stud rookie wide receiver. In the slot, KJ Hamler, another stud rookie wide receiver. Outside, you have the star Cortland Sutton, who blew up last year. It's phenomenal. Just a jump ball machine. I loved everything about him. He's a big physical wide receiver. Reminds me so much of Brandon Marshall back when he was a Bronco. So I'm so excited for Cortland Sutton, especially with these other weapons around him, so he can actually get just one-on-one, and he'll dominate that. And as you can see, the young tight end Noah Fant, who's a speed demon, another toy for quarterback Drew Lock, who we're going to finish up on. Drew Lock, listen, the world is yours, my friend. It's the fountain of just wide receivers and tight ends and running backs. You couldn't ask for more weapons. So this is your oyster, young man. So go out there and do your thing and, prove the believers right. I think he has a promising, career ahead of him, and I've always thought he was a much of a yin to yang with Baker Mayfield. I always thought Baker Mayfield was the one nobody liked, and if you know Drew Lock from his college days, he wasn't always in trouble or in with the police or drinking or nothing like that. But he had a lot of swagger on the pitch. On the field. Look at me talking soccer. He has a lot of swagger, and he'll talk that shit to you right in front of your face. He'll dance, he'll sing, as we seen last season when he was rolling. I believe he went on a little bit of a winning streak. Drew Lock will get in your face. He has that Baker Mayfield persona, but Baker Mayfield lets it known, throws it in your face, and there's a little bit of a cocky streak there. Drew Lock looks like he's just having fun. So there's a yin-yang thing there that I've always kind of felt. I could be going crazy, but I think Drew Lock will be very successful in the NFL. And I think the Denver Broncos have a really good quarterback. So kudos to you guys. All right, let's jump into the defense of the Broncos. As you can see, Justin Simmons, he's on the franchise tag at the free safety position. Opposite of him, Kareem Jackson. You got A.J. Bouye, I'm over here stuttering. A.J. Bouye, starting cornerback on the outside that they just acquired. You have other cornerback Yidam. And I've heard a lot of Bronco fans actually kind of like Yidam. I haven't watched him, so I'm actually really excited. But who I have watched is Todd Davis in the middle. Love Todd Davis. Todd Davis is an awesome 3-4 linebacker. Love him a lot. Johnson is going to be his partner in the inside. On the outside, as you can see, Bradley Chubb and the other bookend, Von Miller, the 3-4. They're going to be standing up, causing havoc. I love that duo. In the inside, you have newly added Jarrell Casey, who also I forgot to mention. This is very rust. This is a huge rust for me. I'm so sorry. I forgot Juwan James. Now I'm forgetting Jarrell Casey. You guys slander me in those comments. Totally rust. I got to wipe this off before we get into the AFC South. DT, Purcell, and you have Harris at the other end position inside the 3-4. Guys, let's jump into the schedule for the Broncos, and then we'll do the Chiefs, and then we'll wrap up. All right, week 1, Denver Broncos. We're at home against the Titans. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the Denver Broncos, the last 6 years, are 6-0 week 1. I could be wrong. Bronco fans, let me know, because that's ridiculous. But you're starting off against the Tennessee Titans, who's a really good team, so I guess that's a win. All right, week 2, on the road to Pittsburgh. Week 3, at home against the Bucs and Tom Brady. Week 4, on the road against the Jets. Week 5, again on the road against the Patriots. Week 6, Miami Dolphins at home. Another home game right after in division against the Kansas City Chiefs, who we'll touch on in a few moments. Week 8, bye. You always kind of want your bye around week 8. That's pretty good. Excuse me. Week 9 on the road against the Falcons. Another road game, week 10. To the Las Vegas Raiders in their new stadium. Week 11, Los Angeles Chargers at home. Week 12, at home against the Saints. Week 13, Kansas City Chiefs on the road. Week 14, again on the road to the Carolina Panthers. Week 15, at home against the Bills. Week 16, you got a division foe at Los Angeles Chargers. And you follow up with another division foe at the Raiders. That's not bad for the Broncos. I kind of like that. You got a little bit of a tough test with, early on with Titans, Steelers, Bucks. But I think if they win a few games in division, they're looking pretty good. All right, jumping into the Chiefs. Listen, they can play whoever they want. You got Patrick Mahomes. End of discussion. Patty Mahomes. All right, week 1 on the road. At home against the Texans. Week 2. You are on the road against the Chargers. Week 3 road game against the Ravens. That's going to be a big game. Lamar and Mahomes. That is they should put that Sunday Night Football immediately. Week 4 at home against the Patriots. Another home game. Week 5 against the Raiders, divisional foe. Week 6 on the road against the Bills. Week 7 on the road against the Broncos. Week 8 at home against the Jets. Jesus Christ. Week 9 at home against the Panthers. Week 10 bye. Week 11 Las Vegas Raiders game on the road. Week 12 road game against the Buccaneers and Tom Brady. That's another big game. You got Brady, Mahomes. That's going to be awesome. There's a whole bunch of fireworks in that one. Week 13 against the Broncos at home. Week 14 on the road against the Dolphins. Week 15 on the road against the Saints. Week 16 home game against the Falcons. Week 17 home game against the Chargers. This team should be going at least 11-5, 10-6, at the very least. I don't really have to touch more on it. Chief fans, you don't even have to watch this. You guys are good. Simple as. This is more about the Broncos. Guys, listen. I see a 9-7 season. It's very doable. I think this offensive line is worrying, but this defense is. You still have Von Miller on defense, and if Bradley Chubb can give you 16 games, there's a lot to work with here, guys. Have some faith. I think Broncos Nation, I think you guys can really pull this one off. So I'm wishing you guys all the best. Actually, I want to visit Denver one day. But yeah, moving on. Listen, Broncos 9-7, definitely can see it. Chiefs back to the playoffs easily. So I think the AFC, finishing up with the AFC West, I think these are the two better teams. We have to see what the Raiders are going to bring and what the Chargers are going to bring. But there's a lot of stuff going on with those teams. So I think these are the two teams you want to look out for in the AFC West. All right, guys, listen. We're jumping into the AFC South in one whole episode next few days. Stay tuned for that. Now, I apologize. We're going to be condensing these shows quite a bit. So bear with me. I'm trying my best to juggle as many teams as I possibly can. But keep in mind, when the season starts, we're doing recaps of the week and previews for the week. The Fourth Down Show is only getting started. And yeah, I'm so excited to keep doing this with you guys. And listen, like, subscribe, give me advice. Let me know what I'm doing wrong. I'm so open to open criticism. I want to build relationship with you guys. So let me know. I'm here to sponsor some brands. I'm here to just let your pages, know I'm willing to support and show express hey, shout these guys out, anything you guys want, hit me up on my DM. Don't forget, this is our Instagram page right over here. And yeah, don't forget, like, subscribe, share down below. And listen, you already know what it is. Legends are made on Fourth Down. I'ma holla.